This week on Siskel and Ebert, Brad Pitt, Jason Patric, Robert De Niro, and Dustin Hoffman star in Sleepers.
Peter Gallagher can't forget departed wife Michelle Pfeiffer into Gillian on her 37th birthday.
And filmmaker Spike Lee revisits the Million Man March in Get on the Bus.
The plan, as it turned out, was as simple and as dumb as anything we'd ever done.
After a prank goes wrong, a group of working-class kids in a tough New York neighborhood are sent off to a brutal boys' home and, as adults, plot to gain revenge on their tormentors in Sleepers, a film with an all-star cast. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. Our first film is Sleepers, and its big-name cast includes no less than Robert De Niro, Dustin Hoffman, Kevin Bacon, and Brad Pitt. And I'm sure that heavy-duty lineup was persuaded to participate by the stature of Rain Man director Barry Levinson. But to me, Sleepers is just a poor imitation of Martin Scorsese's brilliant Mean Streets, made some 23 years ago. Sleepers opens with a group of boys from New York's Hell's Kitchen neighborhood getting into major trouble when a prank to steal some hot dogs spins out of control. The year, 1967. The boys are advised to face the music by the street-smart pastor of their local church, played by Robert De Niro, and played very well.
You run now, you're going to run till you die. Hiding's not going to make it go away. People aren't going to forget.
And so the boys go off to a reformatory where they suffer all manner of physical and sexual abuse from sadistic guards, including one played by Kevin Bacon, and this is all too familiar turf. But after they get out, the story of Sleepers jumps ahead 13 years. Two of the now-grown young men have taken murderous revenge on a guard who tortured them, and the priest is asked to falsify an alibi.
You're asking me to lie. You're asking me to swear to God and then lie.
I'm asking you to save two of your boys.
Brad Pitt plays a young prosecutor willing to take a dive and lose the case to help out his buddies.
This is payback time. Look, John and Tommy started this. It's begun. It's messy, it's not how I had it planned, but here it is.
Also in on the courtroom plot and a wonderful cameo performance is Dustin Hoffman playing a drug-addicted lawyer asked to defend the boys by a neighborhood mob boss played by Vittorio Gassman.
Don't drink, don't lose. What if I do lose? And you go down for the dirt nap.
Never heard that expression before. Dirt nap.
Now, the performances in Sleepers are uniformly fine, but the movie is meaningless. There are a lot of colorful macho bonding moments that are glorified, like some long beer ad that we're watching. Sexual abuse in prison is a bad thing, of course, and it's condemned, but so what? Sleepers simply argues for lethal revenge, but not very thoughtfully. It's a colorful con game, and the passion and the soul and the bravura filmmaking of Scorsese's similarly themed Mean Streets haunts every shot in this picture. Sleepers, for me, is phony. Thumbs down.
Well, I agree with a lot of what you said. I'm giving you a thumbs up because I felt the performances and the drama of the movie do work on that level. But I disagree with you that it's meaningless. I think it has meanings that I disagree with. And here are a couple of them. First of all, basically that guard gets the death penalty. He's shot dead because of sexual abuse. They're saying that there's nothing worse than a homosexual rape. And if you doubt that, play the movie back and the kids were only beaten but not abused, and then see how the murder would play. It wouldn't work the same way.
Well,
these people are all homophobic in the movie. Secondly, there's not a moment's line of dialogue or a moment's scene to establish the fact that Robert De Niro's character would do what he does on the stand.
That's true.
And that flies totally in the face of everything he believes in.
But then I have one question, and people listening to you now have another question, the same question. Why are you endorsing the picture?
Because, although I disagree with it on ideological grounds, and I also believe, by the way, it's not really based on a true story, because I give it 3 stars, because as a movie, you get your money's worth because of those great performances. Think of Gassman.
What are you,
think of Hoffman.
You don't have to tell me. I like the performance.
There's a lot of good stuff in the movie.
I just said so. But, Roger, that's the polite 3-star review that I think is the death of film criticism.
It's a polite 3-star review. You're right, Gene. It's not the death of film criticism.
You got to be tougher.
I just did some film criticism.
You got to be tougher.
Okay, next movie. And our next movie is a return to form for director Spike Lee, whose Girl 6 was a disappointment, but whose new film, Get on the Bus, is one of his very best, a portrait of a busload of some 20 African-American men on their way to the Million Man March in October 1995. The march drew many men for many different reasons, and the cross-section on the bus allows Lee to examine a lot of those reasons. For example, there's a father who has neglected his son who got in trouble. Now, under a court order, they're chained together. There's a light-skinned man on the bus, the child of an interracial marriage. He is a Los Angeles policeman who takes heat from a struggling actor who seems to think he's not black enough.
Okay, I consider myself black, just like Bob Marley was black, okay? He was a so-called mulatto. I consider myself black.
Well, no disrespect, partner, but I could consider myself 6'4" and ugly. The fact remains that I'm 6 foot and too cute for the English vocabulary. You know what I'm talking about.
Ossie Davis plays the oldest man on the bus, a student of African-American history who gives a young filmmaker some history lessons. A replacement driver on the bus, played by Richard Belzer, is Jewish, and he has fundamental problems with the frequently expressed anti-Semitism of Louis Farrakhan, the convener of the march.
He called Judaism a gutter religion. He said Hitler was a great man.
I wouldn't expect you to drive a bus to a Ku Klux Klan rally.
We're able to listen in as many different kinds of black voices are heard expressing many varieties of politics and experience. Yet at the same time, the film feels real. We're drawn into the rhythm of the cross-country journey and get to know the people and get involved in their personalities and their problems. By the end, it's not the march itself that matters so much as what all of those marchers find out about themselves. Thumbs up for me for Get on the Bus.
I liked it very much, too, and I think the interesting phrase that you use is listen in, because who wouldn't want to have been on a bus listening to what was talked about something very important in these men's lives? And that's the eavesdropping quality, is the film at its finest. I have 2 criticisms. One, and this is one, I'm now joining many people who have criticized Spike Lee's films in the past. I thought it was always a strength to have music played all the way through. I think there's too much music in here. I think the stories are so interesting. I would have taken some of the music out. The other thing is, you seem to like the use of the Jewish character in the film. I had a different reaction. I think he's totally illogical. He comes on, he's the nicest guy, he has all the good spirits anyone could possibly have, and then somehow he's set up like a straw man to be knocked down because he suddenly finds out it's going to the Million Man March, and his only reason for leaving is Farrakhan's involved. It comes so late. It's totally illogical.
I feel that he was put into the movie in order to give an expression to criticisms of Farrakhan, which he does, and which the people on the bus are not much interested in because, frankly, the people on the bus aren't much interested in Farrakhan.
It doesn't make any logical sense, but that's a small point within an otherwise, I think, very fine film.
Okay, coming up next, Michelle Pfeiffer co-stars as a dead wife who is still mourned 2 years later by a grieving husband into Gillian on her 37th birthday.
Just released on video. Discover the fun and fantasy of the delicious movie that's an instant Disney classic, James and the Giant Peach. A miraculous gift grows into something amazing and carries James on an extraordinary enchanted adventure.
Come on, James! Fasten your seatbelts, kids!
Now, you and your family can own the movie critics call one of the most magical films of the decade. Own Disney's James and the Giant Peach.
It's fantastic Peach!
Mommy, you talk to her out here.
Oh, well, no, I talk to her all the time. My prayers.
A husband still longs for his dead wife into Gillian on her 37th birthday, a movie that milks the same emotional territory as the hit movie Ghost, but doesn't even come close to that film's poignancy. Into Gillian, Peter Gallagher, who suffers on film, I think, from being just too good-looking, plays a husband who is angry when his in-laws fix him up with a weekend date at his Nantucket home on an emotional day for him.
Don't you think it's a little insensitive fixing me up on her birthday?
Gillian has no more birthdays, David.
That's just one of his problems. He also has ongoing fantasy talks with his late wife on the beach in front of their house, and this obviously unnerves their daughter, played nicely by the fine young actress Claire Danes. Emmy Award winner Kathy Baker plays her aunt.
He will be all right. It's just... He really loved her. He's not the only one. I know.
Now, here's a brief example of one of those fantasy talks with Michelle Pfeiffer as a gauzy image of perfection in a character that's totally idealized. Demi Moore's dead husband in Ghost was more developed.
You're okay, Mr. Man.
I miss you.
I gotta run.
Oh, get back here.
Go play with the live girl.
This film needs either to be more emotional or more credible, but to me it's just weepy hokum, sincere about an obvious issue, the difficulty of dealing with the loss of
Oh, I agree with you,
loved
Gene.
one.
This movie is just really sappy and dumb, and one of the interesting things is it brings in all kinds of side plots just to fill time that means
Exactly.
nothing. For example, the flirtation between the brother-in-law and the girl from next door.
Pointless.
A waste of time.
Wouldn't happen.
The date that Claire Danes goes out with, with Freddie Prinze Jr.
Right.
Completely meaningless, doesn't pay off in any way, doesn't contribute to anything. This movie is really messy and disorganized in terms of what it even thinks it's about.
Now, here's what's wild. I don't think the guy is that goofy to begin with.
No, of
2
course
years,
not.
losing your young wife after 2 years?
Hey, and listen,
that's an appropriate mourning
not
period.
only is it possible to be a mourning for 2 years, but if your wife is Michelle Pfeiffer and she's still appearing to you on the beach, and we can see her as well as you, then in that case, I say, continue, do whatever you're doing, you must be doing the right thing. When we come back, Kate Winslet and Christopher Eccleston star in Jude, the story of a stubborn working man who wants to change his destiny.
Do I irritate you?
No.
Even when I keep trying to prove how much cleverer than you I am.
You are.
A stonemason from a country town has taught himself Latin and Greek and wants to be accepted at a university, and in an early scene from Jude there, he meets his cousin, a girl who lives in a university town and is intrigued by his vision. But the class structure of 19th century England is stacked against Jude's dreams in a new film version of the Thomas Hardy novel. Jude is played by Christopher Eccleston. He falls under his cousin's spell, but she dances always out of his reach. The girl's name is Sue. She's played by Kate Winslet from Sense and Sensibility, and she has married the school teacher who originally inspired Jude to become a scholar.
Jude? Sue didn't tell me you were coming.
I didn't know.
Well, it's a wonderful surprise for both of us.
Sue leaves the teacher for Jude, but they can't marry, and society turns them into virtual outcasts.
Does it frighten you?
No. I'm not afraid of any man.
Why not?
Because no man will touch a woman unless she invites him to. Until she says with a look or a smile, come on. He's always afraid.
The British novelist Thomas Hardy was himself the son of a stonemason. He was largely self-educated, and then he wrote many novels in which the proletarian heroes batter themselves against the walls of an exclusionary society. This film, directed by Michael Winterbottom, resists any effort to compromise the despair caused in lives that society will not make room for. Jude is strongly acted, wonderfully photographed, and true to its despairing message.
Well, that's what I was so impressed about by this film, that there was no compromise, there should be none. And I want to focus on one other element that you didn't mention when you say beautifully photographed. Very clearly, this film shows the physical oppression of the landscape.
Yes.
You talk about someone being a stonemason. Stones. If you think back upon this picture, what image do you remember more than anything else? The stone buildings, literally pushing
the
down on
land
these
crushing
people.
the life out of the people. The first shot of the movie is just a little bit of a sliver of sky at the top and all of this dark mass of land pushing down on the character.
It's very well done, and it does pay off in its conclusion. It was exciting. I was hoping it would finish that way and not soften anything one bit. It doesn't.
I want to say one word about Michael Winterbottom. He directed Butterfly Kiss, which we liked earlier this year. And in that film, as well as in this one, he has a real touch, I think, for the despair that people feel when they are totally outcast from society.
It's very well done. Coming up next, a dating comedy called Swingers about an uptight guy who is anything but a swinger.
The ultimate in movies and entertainment awaits you. It's unlike anything you've ever experienced. That's only on the 18-inch digital satellite system.
Let's play.
This is U.S. satellite broadcasting. You can see everything from here.
I see you're drinking Tropicana Pure Premium's new Tangerine Orange. Nothing quite like it, is there, miss? Somewhere between smooth and sweet and tangy. Schwangy kind of captures it, wouldn't you say? Hey, as long as you're happy. New Tangerine Orange from Tropicana Pure Premium. Perfect.
The exquisite pain of the dating game is the subject of our next film called Swingers, and it's a modest success, a comedy about an awkward would-be young actor and comedian who has trouble getting dates because he can't get over an old girlfriend who has dumped him. The man in pain is played by Jon Favreau. He tries to make small talk with a sharp young woman played by Brooke Langton.
I have a new booking agent, though, so I'm part of the whole Vegas circuits. The money's pretty good. I might buy a car, I think, you know, a foreign car. Treat myself. You know, I figure I worked for it. Why not?
I know where it is. Starbucks. I served you an espresso at Starbucks.
Espresso. An espresso. Yes, that's my drink. That's probably it. That's great. It's not funny.
You came in and asked me for an application, and then I took you and introduced you to my manager.
He does get her number, and then his friends have all sorts of intricate plans on just how he should proceed.
You know, I used to wait 2 days to call anybody, but now it's like everyone in town waits 2 days. So I think 3 days is kind of money. What do you think? Yeah, well, but 2's enough not to look anxious. Yeah, 2's enough not to look anxious, but I think 3 days is kind of money. Yeah, you know, but you know what? Maybe I'll wait 3 weeks. How's that? And tell her I was cleaning out my wallet and I just happened to run into her number.
Then ask her where you met her.
Yeah, ask her where I met her. I don't remember. What does she look like?
Now, some of that early stuff seems a little forced, but later on, Swingers becomes a smarter, more confident film as all of the relationships develop, and I must confess, a modest affection for the picture. It has a similar theme, if you think about it, to Gillian on her 37th birthday, a man mourning loss. But this little low-budget Swingers seems so much more authentic than big-budget Gillian. A marginal thumbs up for me.
Marginal thumbs up for me, too. It is a sweet picture. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't walk more than 3.5 blocks to see it.
You know what? In the history of film criticism, you have just
How far would you walk to see this picture? I would walk a long way to see.
Boy, they're going to treasure, the filmmakers are going to treasure that remark.
Yes, well, I just wanted to put it in context here, and on a cold night, I might have to think about it. Okay, moving on. We're starting a new segment on the program called The Viewer's Thumb, and here's how it works. If you feel strongly about something we've said on a recent show, such as Gene's opinion that I'm not a good enough movie critic, send us a home videotape about 20 seconds long expressing your opinion. Send your tapes to Viewer's Thumb, Box 4400, Chicago, Illinois, 60680. Coming up next, another kind of thumb, our revolving thumb segment. This is where we vote thumbs up or down on something we feel strongly about.
I love sports. Come on, baby. Well, that's why we got Prime Star. Come on. Some might even say I'm a sports maniac.
No.
See, Prime Star's got more sports than even I can watch in digital picture and sound. Yeah! Prime Star's the best deal on satellite TV. There is no equipment to buy. And it all starts at about $1 a day. I might be a maniac, but I am not crazy.
For the best value in satellite TV, call 1-800-PRIME-STAR or visit your local Radio Shack.
Girls, did you see today's paper?
You mean about Candace going into hiding?
Isn't it a shame?
It's Sprint's Diamond Minute rate. It's so popular, she's mobbed everywhere she goes. And now, I hear they've gone and improved it.
Now you can get 10 cents a minute, 24 hours a day to the number you call the most.
10 cents a minute, 24 hours a day?
Nobody's ever going to see Candace again.
Never.
You got that right.
Call now for 10 cents a minute, 24 hours a day to the number you call the most.
Century Plaza, offering the finest in luxury service in Southern California style, adjacent to Beverly Hills on LA's fashionable West Side. The Century Plaza Hotel and Tower, a Westin hotel.
And now it's time for the Revolving Thumb, the new segment where Gene and I vote up or down on recent developments in the movies. And my subject this week is the actress Rosie Perez, who brings as much pure energy and joy of acting to a movie as anyone I can think of. Perez started out as a dancer on Soul Train and got her first dramatic role as Spike Lee's girlfriend in Do the Right Thing. She got her first starring role as Woody Harrelson's unforgettable girlfriend who can't stand gambling in White Men Can't Jump. And then she got an Oscar nomination for a more subdued role opposite Jeff Bridges as a plane crash survivor in Fearless.
Yes, I lied to Father Canty.
highlighting the confession, no highlight to the whole church to everybody.
Now Perez gets top billing in a new release that's out right now called Somebody to Love, playing a Hollywood dollar-a-dance girl.
That's Mercedes, man. Oh, excuse me, Mercedes, like the car.
From time to time while I'm watching any movie, I find myself asking, would this film be improved by the presence of Rosie Perez? And the answer is usually yes. The revolving thumb goes around and around, and for Rosie Perez, it points up.
I'm not as big a fan of this movie as you. I am a big fan of hers, and I hope that she will not allow herself to be stereotyped and will take more roles like the one she got the Oscar nomination for, Fearless.
Let me ask you one question. If Gillian on her 37th birthday had been played by Rosie Perez, would the beach scenes have been more fun?
More fun, for sure. She's a fun presence in most every movie she's in. And now I want to turn and make my comment on a trend that may explain why Rosie Perez is such a precious resource. That's because she's one of very few Latino voices in the movies today. According to a Screen Actors Guild report publicized in USA Today recently, only about 3.5% of movie roles go to Latino actors or actresses. I'm not asking for a quota. I'm just asking for more of what we've been getting because such Latin American films as A Walk in the Clouds or Mi Vida Loca or Mi Familia
Salud! Salud a todos!
and most recently Caught have each earned thumbs up from Roger and me in the last couple of years. So the revolving thumb spins and points down on too few Latino movies, a trend that can be rectified, I'm afraid, only by Latino talent and by studios realizing that the growing appeal of Latino music can be transferred to the film industry. Here's where the music industry is ahead of the movie industry.
Well, I hope so, and maybe this new movie based on the life of Selena and starring Jennifer Lopez will provide a breakthrough to a larger audience that will give the studio some courage to do that. Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed this week. We split on Sleepers, the story of reform school kids getting revenge. I liked the filmmaking but had some questions about the philosophy. Gene found it all to be a poor imitation of Mean Streets. Two enthusiastic thumbs up, although Gene had a couple of objections for Get on the Bus, Spike Lee's powerful and evolving look at some of the men on the way to the Million Man March. Two thumbs down for To Gillian on her 37th birthday, a sappy, disorganized story about a man trying to survive the death of his wife and the intrusions of his in-laws. Two thumbs up for the bleak but effective Jude about the difficulties of finding freedom from social pressure and prejudice in 19th century England. Kate Winslet gives a wonderful performance. And finally, two thumbs up, moderately so, for about 3.5 block walk for Swingers, a slice of life from modern Hollywood, as young guys on the make stumble forward and away from happiness.
In case you missed the address we posted earlier in the show for our new audience interaction feature, here it is again. Please send your home video comments to anything we say on our show to The Viewer's Thumb, Post Office Box 4400, Chicago, Illinois, 60680. That's it for this week. Next week, we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including The Associate.
What are you going to do? I'm going to perpetrate a great big whammy. Go get him.
With Whoopi Goldberg turning Wall Street upside down, and also High School High, a comedy with John Lovitz and Tia Carrere trying to pacify some dangerous minds. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.